Excuse me. Okay. Get a few people in here first. Keep updating so I can see the live chat. Still waiting here. We'll wait a little bit to get a few people in here. Then we'll do some talking about what's going on here with the latest on this storm. Okay, looks like it's working here. Hello, hello. I see some people rolling in. All right. So let's see here. Let me put this on Twitter. And we are live now. Okay, let's see. All right, I see people rolling in here. So yeah, you guys can see the satellite imagery I got overlaid here. Something of note, you can see just how bright the green is here. So you can really see the tropical air mass. Now it's being brought up in front of this pretty deep and chilly trough here. And that's what's creating this dynamic storm. And the latest models have actually been trending stronger with this storm, if you can believe it. There's also a few more interesting things here that have developed over some of the high resolution models in the short term as well. Some possibly dangerous solutions. And through the last day or two, we've been really ramping up the wind speeds on some of the latest runs. So, you know, this is a pretty rare storm. I mean, you're talking about maybe one in, I don't know, you could be looking at 1 in 15, 1 in 25 year type deal here. It's just a very unique clash of air masses. We've had a lot of cold air that streamed all the way down across Alaska from the North Pole. And that's what's kind of been sitting out here across the Northeast Pacific. You know, we've got a Madden-Julian oscillation phase kind of moving through right now, so that it kind of enhances some of that subtropical and tropical moisture. So that's working into this as well. And we've got a strong El Nino also. So we've really set things up quite nicely here for a storm, or Mother Nature did anyway. And Ninja Mommy, welcome to Weather Watch support. Thanks for supporting the channel. I see people from Arrowhead here. Stopped watching the ham radio to come watch the broadcast. Very nice. El Segundo, California. Light rain in San Jose, Prescott, Arizona, checking in. Yeah, it looks like the rain's already starting across some of the areas. I mean, looks like it might even start to have some light rain across some of Southern California there as well. But it looks like moderate and maybe even a little bit of heavy rain already moving into, you know, just to the southwest of San Jose, just starting across some of the Bay Area and the Central Coast getting hit. And you can see where the center of this storm is right now, all the way back here to the bottom left of the screen. You can see the cold air stream behind the mid-latitude cyclone and the very deep tropical and subtropical tap out in front of it. And this is what's known as the atmospheric river. And if we bounce back out again, you can clearly see it. I mean, the tap goes all the way back down into the deep tropics here. And yeah, pretty exciting stuff, meteorologically speaking. Bakersfield, Ukiah, Vista, California, Reno, Placerville, just left San Jose. Tiny amount of rain falling in eastern Ventura County. I probably shouldn't have worn this jacket. I forgot to take this off because it's making all kinds of noise if I move just a little bit. Moderate rain in Santa Cruz Mountains. Stop playing Minecraft to come watch the chat. Very nice. You know, it's tough to actually say exactly what kind of snow is going to happen because, I mean, here, let's do this. Let's bounce out because I haven't looked at the recent North American model runs here. Let's go to state. We'll do central so we can see. Let's just go ahead and do, for example, Kuchera and put it in motion. And let's see here. So you can see the totals down here. It's kind of small, but right there when I click there about as of Sunday night, we went over 100 inches there across some of the highest terrain there of the Sierra Nevadas. And I mean, some of this is ridiculous here. You can't really count on this because if you look down to the bottom right here, it says 243 inches. So obviously we're probably not going to be doing that much snowfall. If we back it to 10 to 1, this is probably much more accurate because we're not going to listen to the contrariation facts. So just kind of delete out of your mind that we just went through that. But still, these are still some really incredible amounts, over 100 inches. And we're talking about some areas, you know, reliably getting 5 to 6 feet out of this. That's between 60 and 72 inches. That's what's been showing up a lot in the National Weather Service forecasting in their graphics. Caltrans has a highway sign saying stay off the roads tomorrow. So like when you're in the lower elevations tomorrow, I think the snow levels across the Sierra might start out as low as 3,000 feet, but they are going to be rising as we go through the storm system here. So it's probably going to go back above you. And some areas are going to stay wet snow up at 5,000 feet, and some are going to be right on the rain snow line, but still across the higher peaks, just some really big amounts incoming. And if we bounce out of here, let's take a look at the latest here from Sacramento. You can see the snow levels again, starting right about 3,000 to 4,000 feet, rising 4 to 6. And the heaviest snow again is going to be tomorrow. And you can see just the huge amounts, 5 to 6 feet at the peaks, 2 to 4 feet above 4,500 feet there, and 1 to 3 feet above 3,500 feet. So you might get some pretty good snowfall amounts at 3,500 feet before this turns over, especially northern portions. No rain yet in Anaheim. Let's see here. I'm having trouble. Okay, that's better looking on the chat there. I was having trouble seeing the chat screen here. It's kind of interesting on the YouTube there. Yeah, that's kind of the good thing about this too. All that plays into it. If you're Chris Nutty, thank you for the generosity. You always come through every single super chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for the updates. No problem. Oh, somebody else left a Russell Cameron Thomas from Emeryville, California. Keep up the good work. Thank you for the generosity, my friend. And so where was I here? Let's see. Did somebody ask a question I think I was getting? There is going to be a possibility of thunderstorms in Southern California. Yes, all the way on in through Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday also. Oh, yeah, we were talking about the commute. It happening on a Sunday for portions of Santa Barbara is a good thing. People are going to be home more often than not. I mean, still, I know people still work on the weekends, obviously, but hopefully that kind of cuts down the amount of traffic out there. And that's when people can get into trouble. People have to work. You got to eat, right? You have to make money and live and all that good stuff. So you can't really just stay home whenever you want necessarily. So that will help, hopefully. And again, our goal here is if you're safe and you're at home and you're on higher ground and all that good stuff, you're probably going to be okay. It's very unlikely that a small stream is just going to jump its banks and come and take you out of your home and drown you or something like that. I think everybody kind of understands that. So I don't want to create mass hype and mass hysteria or anything like that with this storm. It's just going to be something significant that if you're not paying attention, you could get injured. Maybe a tree will fall on your house, and you just got to know stuff like that. And the power might be out for a while, or the road might be flooded down the street and you can't go to the grocery store to get food for the next couple of days because you weren't prepared for the storm. You guys know the drill pretty much. Wendy Garish, thank you very much for your generosity. That's awesome. There is another system coming behind this one. It's coming out of the northwest too, so it might be a nice snowmaker for Northern California and for some of the Sierra Nevada. So that might help build up a little bit more snow. And on through the extended, there was signs of maybe an active jet stream as we go through the mid portion of February or in the next couple of weeks. So I don't want to get too much caught up in that, but it's kind of in line with El Nino. Boulder Creek, California. Why is that not drawing? I'm drawing a blank. Is this the Boulder Creek? Yeah, you guys are in for some heavy rain out there. I mean, you're up in the higher terrain also. You could get 4, 5, 6 inches there in the next couple of days. Big rainfall amounts, especially across the higher terrain, some of the coastal areas as well. I think it was, what, 2 to 3 in the last report I saw for some of the Bay Area. Let's look at the precipitation forecast, what it says here. 2 to 3 San Francisco, and you can see kind of those higher amounts down to the southwest of San Jose. 2 to 3 for Red Bluff, Redding, Alder Springs. And something that's been going on here as well is that, let's do this. This is the latest European run. I want to show you guys this. Actually, let's do this. I want to compare it to an earlier run. We'll look at yesterday afternoon's run. So you can see the low pressure system come up. And notice how it's quite a bit deeper. I mean, 982 versus 989 is a pretty big difference in the low pressure there. And on top of this, when you have this low pressure around, the sea level rises. It legitimately rises by, sometimes noticeable amounts here. You got that low pressure, the atmosphere and the sea will actually rise, and you can increase some of the coastal flooding here and some of the damage from the waves. But yeah, look at that 980 millibar low on the most recent European model. And something that I forgot to talk about yesterday as well, I mentioned that it would not be a bomb cyclone, but the further south in latitude you go, the fewer millibars you need to drop to reach bomb cyclone status. So technically, meteorologically speaking, this is going to reach bomb cyclone status. It's pretty unusual to get a 980 millibar low at this latitude. Okay, let me do some chat here. No, for Southern California, the snow levels are going to be 6,000 to 7,000 feet, but you could get those big amounts still above 7,000 feet, especially. I mean, you're not looking at widespread structural damage, I don't think. You could cause some pretty severe tree damage and maybe some minor home damage and whatnot, but you're not looking at like 140 mile per hour hurricane winds or anything like that out there. I want to make that clear. George Turnpin, thank you for your generosity. Very nice of you. Define bomb cyclone. So it's just, all it is a technical term that if you drop the low pressure of a system by a certain amount within 24 hours, it's just a way for meteorologists to communicate with each other. Like, hey, this cyclone hit, this mid-latitude cyclone or this storm system hit bomb cyclone status. And so the definition wasn't really meant to just be blasting out to the public, but since it just kind of caught on and now it's a thing. So it's just kind of something that gets shared in social media now. But all it is the pressure drop over a certain amount of time. There's nothing special about the storm other than the pressure has been dropping rapidly. I'm going to come down probably on Tuesday. I have to work actually tomorrow and Monday, and there's no way I can get out of it in the short range on this round. So I'm going to be stuck at work until then. But the atmospheric river may still be hung up over Southern California then. So I may still come down. And I don't have much desire to go drive back into a high risk there on Highway 101 back into Santa Barbara or Montecito. I think that's a little bit on the nutty side there. You really got to know what you're doing, and you need to have, all kinds of escape routes, and you have to really be prepared for something like that. And I don't know if I can get anybody to go with me this round, so I'm probably not going to be diving back in there on Highway 101 up into Santa Barbara and Ventura counties, or back up into the transverse ranges here where, you could have entire hillsides start to get active if you drop enough rainfall. Jeanette Oakley Lozano, thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Yes, bomb cyclone is 1 millibar per hour for 24 hours, but it's a different calculation the further south you go. So I think at about the latitude lower than, or somewhere around New York City, it's actually closer to 18 or 19 millibars in that 24-hour period. But generally speaking, if you look it up, it's going to tell you need a 24 millibar drop in a 24-hour period. but that requirement is lessened the further south you go across the southern hemisphere. Because if you look, you just don't normally see 980 millibar lows this low. That's still a very strong storm off the Pacific Northwest as well, but it's more common. The Alchemist, thank you from Patterson, California. Thank you for your generosity. Flooding in Palm Springs. And I mean, it's not going to be as dynamic as what's going to happen on the transverse ranges or on the windward side, but there could be flooding out across some of Death Valley and even some of southern Las Vegas. In fact, let's look at some of that. You can see how it doesn't really extend beyond the mountains. However, until you get up a little bit further, even Death Valley, you're going to have some southerly flow and some southeasterly flow. So you're not going to be rain shadowed as you typically are across the Sierra Nevada. And so you're going to get some of that moisture back up in there. And this is what is this? This is day 2. And day 3, you can see it does come out. It does come right down towards Palm Desert here, as you can see. So there could be some heavy rainfall to be had out there across some of the desert areas. And again, you can kind of see that move up across Death Valley and Las Vegas as well. It is true that La Nina is likely coming back next year. That is correct. Big Sur Mountains. Yes, you are in for a nice rainfall and some gusty winds, especially if you are in, an exposed area. If you're not in a valley or something, or creek bed, riverbed. Long Beach, California, you got a lot of rain coming. Yes, indeed. So how many people are in the chat now? Let's see. Wow, 1,100 people. Amazing. That's awesome. You guys are awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, nice snowfall coming for Reno out there as well. I mean, just amazing. Yeah, this won't hurt the drought outlook, that's for sure. Santa Monica, I mean, you'll have some gusty winds out there, some heavy rain. As long as you steer clear of the waterways and a lot of the Los Angeles metro, you're going to be okay for the most part. Well, I don't even want to promise that, because you guys know how these streams can even come alive. Even in Los Angeles metro, you can get some overrunning of some of these smaller streams and whatnot, especially if you are tucked back in towards the San Gabriel Mountains or the San Bernardino Forest or up against the Transverse Range. Even, the Santa Ana Mountains here, you can have some interesting stream action coming off that, especially if an atmospheric river trains over any given area. Oxnard, yes, you are under the gun here. You can see there's Oxnard here. Let's go back to day 2. You are in the high risk. So be very cautious about going outside. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, you guys need to know your elevation, know where your dry riverbeds are, your dry creeks, and those little streams that you think will never have a drop of water in them, and you go through the entire summer and there's not one drop of water in it. Those come to life in these scenarios, and then you can get these rock slides and mudslides, and you've only got one highway in and out. You guys know the drill. Yeah, Sacramento, I mean, they're talking about 2 to 3 inches there. That seems like a lot, but I mean, that's what the National Weather Service is calling for. Trying to catch up on some of the messages here. Let's see. A lot coming through. The reservoirs are doing quite well right now. I want to go over this before I forget. I keep putting this off here. So I want to show you something quite concerning across Southern California. So here we are now, and this matches up with the radar pretty well, right? You can see where we are currently. Actually, the moderate and heavy rain probably already starting to make its way in. And you can kind of see that. That would be about 6 o'clock. There's 7, there's 8, 9, 10, 11, midnight right there. Now you can see the rain hasn't started in earnest across a lot of Southern California, but the Bay Area and some of the Central Coast is really getting hit hard. Sacramento's getting some big rains, and places north of Point Reyes, Fort Bragg up there, Shelter Cove are getting some big rainfall here as we go into tomorrow morning. And you see it's not really starting out across Southern California, but then it's going to come in a hurry as we go through the late morning hours for Santa Barbara and Ventura County. And you can really see this plume of moisture moving up. And I'm going to back up one model run here and go to the 0Z. It goes out 48 hours. And then you can see we're clicking through hour at a time with just torrential rainfall hitting places like, again, Oxnard, Santa Barbara, Ventura. Starts creeping towards the Los Angeles metro as we get on in towards tomorrow afternoon. And it's really going to be hammering the transverse ranges at this point. Now, what I want to show you here is look at how that thing continues down, and it's fairly progressive and it's moving down past the Los Angeles metro. But watch what happens at about, what is this, 1 a.m. on Monday morning, it kind of stops. And it's stalled. And that rain is picking back up against again, across the Los Angeles metro. And it stays there. And it continues there. And it's almost backed up a little bit there, back towards Oxnard and maybe even some of Ventura County. And it's just hanging out there. And that is really bad news. I mean, that is not cool. A couple hours underneath this fire hose is bad enough, and you could have some flooding. Several hours underneath it, and things are going to be quite bad. And when it starts to do the little dance and the funky chicken back and forth over you, that's when things can get catastrophic. So let's check out what the other models have to say first. And I want to go over Southern California here first. So let's go back to the 0Z on the HRRR, the high resolution rapid refresh. I actually even not looked at the actual precipitation amount. So we're going to scroll through here, and you can see the big rains as this pushes off to the south and east, and it's kind of hanging up over Los Angeles at this time frame here. Okay, so we've got some areas that have gotten up over a foot here off in the higher terrain, the transverse ranges again. But now we can use the North American model, and we can go out even farther and take a look at this. In fact, let me back it up. And so about 48 hours, pretty similar totals to what the HRRR was showing, and maybe a little bit higher across the areas just north of the higher terrain out of Los Angeles. But look at some of these just sickening amounts, because the North American model is showing this hang up over Los Angeles as well. And look at this, 17 inches in some of these areas. I mean, I don't even have to tell you what's going to be going on across the Santa Ana Mountains and some of the San Gabriel Mountains and some of the higher terrains. Just going to be absolute torrents running off these mountains here, and just really devastating to catastrophic flooding if this were to verify. And I also want to show you the North American model here as well. So let's put that into motion. And something similar to the HRRR. You see the big rains coming from the Central Coast, the Bay Area, Northern California, and moving up the valley towards Red Bluff and Redding and getting Sacramento and really moving all the way into Oregon. And as we go on into about the same time frame here, late morning hours, Santa Barbara, Ventura County, here you go. Oxnard, big rainfall. You can see the atmospheric river pointed right at the Los Angeles metro here and some areas west as we go on into tomorrow afternoon and evening. And look at that. It just kind of stops, and it's sitting right over Los Angeles, and it doesn't want to move. We're clicking hour by hour. This is not good news here, folks. That is an ugly scenario. And on top of that, we're going to have some convective showers here that could be dropping some extremely heavy rainfall. Not as steady as the atmospheric river, but they could be coming in right behind it here, helping to enhance rainfall again across San Luis Obispo, Vandenberg, Point Conception, and back in towards the Los Angeles metro. So that is not a good sign here, folks. You hang up an atmospheric river of this strength over any given area for any length of time, and it's really bad news. So yeah, I had to get that out. I just want to make everything clear to everybody here, just to kind of drive home that thing may not just progress through and we're done with it. That is looking like it's going to bounce around a little bit there in the models. I also want to show you the European. This one's hot off the presses as well. We're going to put this into motion, and you see pretty good agreement. And then you see the big rain start here as we go into the late morning hours. Kind of hang out there, this torrential rainfall just blasting Southern California, my goodness. And then you can see it propagate off. And the European does something a little bit different. It hangs it up a little bit over San Diego here, and then it kind of refills as we get this trough elongated here right over the state. And the cyclonic flow continues all the way on in through Monday night into Tuesday morning. Look at this rain just continues. It doesn't stop. We're now on into Tuesday night, and it still could be heavy at times across portions of Southern California. So while it's let up some and pushed off, and according to the European, it still is raining for some areas. And yeah, you don't like to see any kind of sign of an atmospheric river hanging up, because it's bringing so much moisture into an area that, it just it can make things catastrophic really quick. Okay, let me catch up on some of the chat here. Moon Shadow, thank you for the generosity. Bay Area weather, thank you very much. The waterfalls on Mount Tam are all going nicely from rains earlier this week. They'll be really cranking tomorrow. Keep a weather eye out, everybody. Yes, indeed. That's another thing. That's a good point, because everything is really saturated. We brought some big rainfalls from Northern California all the way down through Southern California. And man, we're just going to bring this over saturated soils. It's just kind of a sobering thought. Loam Reaper, thank you for your generosity. Traveling with Turtles, thank you for your generosity. From Half Moon Bay, California, it's a mess out there. Thanks for all you do. So you guys are probably getting heavy rain already, it looked like, huh? You can really see the plume already coming in. It looks like it's overperforming already from what some of the models have been showing also. Look at Catalina, it's raining. It looks like San Jose is getting moderate rain as we speak. Man, and what a plume of moisture. Just a monster all the way back into the tropics. I mean, this is incredible. Let's do this. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you can really see how the bright greens are just well up into California. This is the air mass characteristics. Tropical air mass, bringing the tropics up into the state. Jeannie Eberts, thank you for your generosity. David Ramirez, thank you. Yeah, you don't want to dance with the funky chicken. Thanks for all the kind words, you guys. Motorizer, I see you there. Matthew Fab is in the house. He's one of the Pacific Northwest storm chasers. Major wind event likely for Monterey / Carmel and south along Highway 1. Yes, huge winds along the coastline. I'm kind of already forgetting about that a little bit as well. If we look at the North American model, this is the most recent run. This is hot off the presses versus the 18Z. So let's put this into motion. And look at some of these ridiculous speeds. I mean, come on now. I mean, some of these are going to be up over 70 miles per hour for some of the coastal areas. It's really been showing some big winds across Sacramento here as well. I mean, you can see some gusts up in the upper 50s, maybe towards 60 miles per hour, all the way up the coastline, even trying to get towards southern Oregon. I mean, Santa Barbara even showing up some pretty big winds as well. And there's some gusty winds along the Southern California areas, but not nearly as bad. This is the most recent North American model as far as the low pressure is concerned. And it's actually a little bit closer to the coast here. A little bit weaker, just barely, not even really worth mentioning. Actually, it's 980 right there versus 982. Just slightly weaker, but closer to the coastline. Yeah, I mean, there's still a fair chance that the atmospheric river, although it will be weakening, will hang up over San Diego. So we got to watch out for that. Things are going to be changing in the model runs, and they're pointing towards it hanging up somewhere between Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, or San Diego. And there's also that sneaky flood threat out into the desert areas in some of Death Valley and some of southern Nevada also. 80 miles per hour possible just south of Carmel based on the NAM and HERA forecasts. More than just going in and putting a lot of trust into one particular model, I like to look at all the models, and I like to see how they're trending, and I like to see what they're showing, and you kind of get a picture, and then you read the National Weather Service forecast discussion, and then you go over your own previous experiences, and you kind of see how things are trending, and you see, you know, what's usual for this area and whatnot. And then you kind of make a comprehensive forecast versus just kind of taking a model at its word. So when you start to watch like the North American model, the high resolution model, and they start trending upwards for winds for Sacramento, you know, you take notice of that. And then, as you remember in the live chat last night, if you joined, there were some pretty good winds starting to show up in the HER. And the National Weather Service Sacramento, I think, had 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts for Sacramento. And they quickly upped those. And now they've got a high wind warning out for that area. And if we go here, you can see that high wind warning extends all the way up to Redding now. You can see that orange area. I don't want to downplay the waves on the coast too. I mean, there's going to be some huge waves with low pressure, and when that correlates with the high tide, there could be some coastal erosion, some pier damage, flooding. Yeah, to get the best model runs and the best display, you really need to get like weather bell and whatnot, and it can be a pretty pricey. It can be pretty pricey here, especially when I'm using it commercially like this, but it's worth it if you do it a lot. Oh, Kurt's in the house. Kurt Kaplan. Yeah, nice. Old National Weather Service. One of the old pros, like me. Trying to catch up on some of these here. Let's see. I think I got some other people that I have not seen. Slower Molder. Welcome to Weather Watch Support. Yeah, Weather Bell's really fun. 1,500 people in the chat. That is quite amazing. In locale, no rain till tomorrow and more Tuesday. Yeah, we need more tabs open. And for all of you who want a mug, I've got 5 of them boxed up. I have to go get more boxes because I only had 5 in my garage. They're all packed up and ready to go, and I'm going to ship them out probably. I'm probably going to ship them out on Wednesday coming up here. I got to get them all together. Then I got to bring them to the post office and all that good stuff. So I already have the mugs. I just got to package them up and stuff. It is raining near San Francisco. Yes, it is. Yeah, I can really see the swirl of that low pressure center there. Yeah, that's something we've been fearing here. You know, this low pressure center just coming up and really bombing off the coast and deepening here. And then it just kind of wants to sit here and this trough elongates, and that leaves open that possibility for the atmospheric river to kind of hang out. Even if it's weakening, it won't matter so much because even though you're not dropping torrential rainfall, when you're dropping persistent moderate or borderline heavy rainfall over any given area, you're still going to flood. And then across the higher terrain especially, I mean, it's just a bad recipe. Salinas River is flowing. No rain in Woodland Hills yet. Stock up on tacos and In-N-Out burgers. You're going to need them. Definitely. You know, it's a little bit deceptive with atmospheric rivers here in Southern California. Let me show you something here, because when you're dealing with this, you take a look at this and you kind of look at the European or something, and it like says it's an AR2, but that's not really giving you any kind of information on the threat. All this is just based on integrated vapor transport and duration. It's not really telling you how much rainfall you're getting out of this. So the impacts of this are going to be really high. And thank you, Lucky Three Crows, for the generosity. Appreciate you covering the Bay Area weather. Thanks, Michael. Take care, SoCal. Yes, indeed. So I don't like to get caught up too much in the strength of these atmospheric rivers. It really does not mean that much, especially for Southern California. It's more of a player for me across Oregon, BC, and Washington. Hope that makes sense. And if you guys are just joining here now, I want to just kind of point out what's going on across some of Southern California. You know, big rains in the meantime. First, as you guys know, it's already raining across the Bay Area and some of the Central Coast. That's going to be continuing on. This is tomorrow morning. Look at some of these heavy bands of rain just moving across. And I want to point out something tomorrow as well, because once this clears, this back here, these can be convective. You can get thunderstorm chances here, and there's even a tornado threat as we go through the day tomorrow, probably in that band here maybe. And then you can see the atmospheric river kind of hanging up over Southern California. And look, as we go into Sunday night into Monday, you're getting additional thunderstorms along the central coast. And those could be producing additional flooding also. And did you notice what happened there? You can see the atmospheric river made some progress over the Los Angeles metro. And then it started to bounce back to the north and west a bit here. And that's a sign of the atmospheric river potentially stalling, which would be extremely bad. And if this shows up in the models and continues, they're probably going to extend this high risk on day 3. Will probably include the transverse range here north of the Los Angeles metro, or right about here. That's my guess. And this would be on in through Monday morning through Tuesday morning. It's already started, you guys. It's already raining. If you take a look at the Doppler radar here, you got Southern California there. It's already starting to light rain here along the coast areas of Southern California. And that's kind of overdone here, frankly. I mean, if we back up, we're right about there, 7, 8. It's not really showing that rain coming down to Southern California too much yet, but it does show it moving through. Get a little bit of a break tomorrow morning, and then the big stuff arrives for Southern California, late morning hours. But as you can see, it's going to be raining across the Bay Area and the Central Coast, Northern California, all the way on in through tomorrow morning, with some just absolute gully washing showers behind this as well, with thunderstorm potential, small hail, there's water spout potential, there's weak tornado potential, there's lightning, there's gusty winds that could be mixing down towards the surface as well. So yeah, wild stuff tomorrow. And you can see how this low just wants to sit there and it's not moving. And that's the problem with this atmospheric river. It just wants to create this elongated trough and just hang up this atmospheric river. And you notice it loses a little bit of its punch, but it's still quite vigorous. I mean, my goodness, you're still dropping moderate rain for a prolonged period of time. Yeah, nothing yet for Sacramento. Looks like there might be some Virga up in the sky or something coming your way, but no rainfall just yet. That's probably coming here in the next few hours, though. Yeah, it looks like that rain's coming for Sacramento here in the next few hours. Yeah, I mean, California is truly just like its own country. I mean, okay, so CP, thank you very much. Thank you for your generosity. Thanks for what you do, Michael. Outer Limit, thank you very much. Death Valley had many roads wiped out from flooding last year. It has been getting more rain than it normally does. Thanks for everything, Michael. Yeah, that's true. And with this next system coming in here, it looks like that's going to be dropping more rainfall with it. If we bounce out here a little bit, if I can get on there. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do cities and let's do Las Vegas. And we'll do precipitation and we'll do precipitation total because Death Valley is out in here. And as we go on in through, yeah, the NAM doesn't go out quite far enough. It might be falling some of this on Tuesday. But you can kind of see there's some pretty heavy rainfall out here that's going on the day Monday. So that's why they have that marginal come out there as well. And this is going to be really crazy here as well because this portion of Nevada is really dry. I believe this is getting up towards Tonopah here as well. And I lived in Tonopah for a while and we got like what, 4.5 inches of rain a year. Just kind of, and that's, 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall there. So there could be some flooding concerns across portions of Nevada also. In fact, let's take a look at the most recent European. I want to check this out. You can kind of see that. Look out towards Las Vegas and Death Valley, that rain falling out there. And you can kind of see it training out over southern Nevada, eventually pushing off through Arizona as well. So there could be some flooding out there also. And this is the most recent European model. I mean, Death Valley is like right here. I mean, it's not way north of Las Vegas. Yeah, Vegas gets crazy. I mean, when I lived in Tonopah, it rained like a half an inch, like in the first week I was there, and it was just washing portions of the earth away and creating these huge gullies and stuff. And that was just with a half an inch. Well, you know, the old saying that I've always said with the flooding, there's a question there about how dangerous do I think it'll get for Southern California. And the thing is it's always all good until it's not, you know. That dry creek bed might be just absolutely raging and you're kind of just watching it in your neighborhood and everything's okay. And then when it jumps the creek and it starts through the neighborhood and it's damaging homes and it sweeps people away, like what happened in the flooding in Montecito, then it's a big deal. So there's always this really fine line with the severe flooding. It's like the hillside, it's absorbing all the water and it's doing fine. And nobody got injured because, you know, you didn't get a landslide, but then all of a sudden the land gives way and then it's all good until the landslide happens. So it's always that fine line. And so then I get people that comment to me as, oh, you know, the creeks were raging and it was crazy and some of the roadways were underwater, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And, you know, and so that's kind of how it wasn't a big deal because you were prepared for it as well. So, you know, it's always a big deal until something happens, or it's not a big deal until something happens. Yeah, there's always a chance for cancellations. I mean, there'll probably be multiple cancellations from several different airlines, I would imagine, coming in and out because air traffic can get really crazy. And the winds are going to be a big factor also. And there's probably going to be compression, which means you got different wind speeds at different altitudes and trying to vector people in and get them into the airport. It's going to get kind of wild. So they're probably going to limit the capacity for some of the airports locally. And so that can kind of come into play as well. So you might have some cancellations. And then it kind of gets crazy, especially when the convective activity, if that starts moving down Monday or Tuesday across Los Angeles or across Burbank or San Diego, then you get planes that are in the air that need to divert because things are just going crazy and you got rainfall and you got lightning and thunderstorms near the field and you can't land. I have to do a research for my geo class about mid-latitude cyclones. This is what is going on. Cyclones sounds very intense. Is it always a cyclone? Yeah, it's just another name for it. I mean, you can call it a storm system, whatever. It's just a mid-latitude cyclone, but that is definitely what is going on here. And if we back out here, it's called a mid-latitude cyclone because you can see there's the equator here and there's the North Pole. This is the mid-latitudes, and that's generally where the colder air across the polar areas meets up with the air across the equatorial regions there. So that's why they call them mid-latitude cyclones. Even though this is a bit far south versus the usual areas that get them, which is kind of more up towards Oregon, Washington, British Columbia here, and then they'll come down and clip California at times. Yeah, Matt Mittens makes a good point there. Traffic gets put in a holding pattern. And yeah, if you can't land and then all of a sudden you got guys diverting to Ontario or people are diverting to Palm Springs or Phoenix or Las Vegas. And then if you get too many diversions, you can even back up those diversion airports there and things can get really crazy at that point. But air traffic control isn't stupid and the airlines aren't stupid as well. And they know those are going to come into play. So they will pre-cancel flights a lot of times. They'll trim back their flight loads a little bit there and they'll try to make it so you don't have, 25 Southwest flights in the air going to Southern California and there's a huge string of thunderstorms coming across the region and there's gusty winds and nobody's getting in for a while and you got to start holding all these planes or pre-diverting them into Phoenix or Albuquerque or wherever. Thank you very much, Kurt. Thank you for your generosity, sir. A new Pacific Northwest resident, Kurt Kaplan. Yeah, there's nothing more. It's a bummer when you're flying from someplace, you're going from Seattle to Phoenix or you're going from Miami to Portland or something. and you've flown all that way, and all of a sudden you get that call from the captain like, hey folks, the weather's bad here, we're diverting to Eugene, or we're diverting from Los Angeles to Ontario or something like that, and you're just like, oh no. I guess it's better than traveling across the country in a horse carriage though, right? I haven't looked how far this is going to come in. I know that there's still some excessive rainfall outlooks across Arizona and whatnot too. It should bring some precipitation there. I don't know how far. No, I mean, it is going to get, yeah, it's going to get some of the Intermountain West as well, because it's going to bring some snowfall even across Oregon and California as well. Oregon and Washington also. And even across some of Idaho and maybe Montana. So I think it will be spreading some moisture. Honestly, I've not looked that much at it. Air Force One is going to take off in heavy range. Heavy rain. Okay, I see. Where is Air Force One right now? Yeah, and so I got to work tomorrow, and I'll be working I'll be working some California flights tomorrow also. Tropical Storm Hillary. This is just more of a widespread impact. And obviously it's a colder storm. You're going to be getting mountain snows, and you're probably not going to get quite as much rain across some of the desert areas, but you are going to be getting that really big rainfall. And the thing about Tropical Storm and Hurricane Hillary is it brought just that wide swath of moderate rain. So it wasn't really the torrential flooding that you can get here. And we have a higher end flooding potential with this storm system here. Michael Schneider, a different Schneider, but a Michael Schneider. Welcome to Weather Watch supporter. Biden is in Los Angeles right now. Interesting. Oh, and he's going to take off tomorrow. They'll probably be smart and take off before that gets there, because it's not going to start till LA probably until the afternoon or so. What time? Does anybody know what time the plane is leaving? Oakland, you'll be seeing heavy rain as you go on in through tonight and tomorrow morning, big time. And then probably some big rain showers rolling in through tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. No, you're going to get big rainfall across the deserts, but probably not as much as you were going to get as you got during Hillary. There's going to be a nice plume of moisture that moves into the deserts. This is day 3, and you can see it does include some of the desert areas out there. It even creeps out towards Palm Desert here, because there's going to be a pretty good flow coming out of the south, and that south flow can bring some big moisture up across portions of Nevada. Like when we lived in Tonopah, when you got that low pressure system that brought that south flow, you could avoid the rain shadowing of the Sierra Nevada. So yeah, it's not going to be a bad setup for some areas, and there is that flooding potential across some of Las Vegas, and there's a flood watch out for Death Valley right now. Yeah, so you can see Death Valley is kind of a beam. Las Vegas here is Death Valley National Park. Death Valley here. I don't think it shows. Does it show? There's Tonopah right there, yeah. The wind will be kicking up, so let's go back out to the wind here. So if we back up, you can see, so this is tomorrow morning about 4 a.m., 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So as you go through the late morning hours, it looks like Sacramento's going to kick up, and that will eventually be working its way northward towards Red Bluff and Redding as we go on into, let's see, actually the strongest winds don't really start until very early Monday morning for some areas up there. And you can kind of see the sharp cutoff. You're still gusting mid-40s here, but it back off a little bit here across some of the Sacramento area and some of the North Valley. Did I miss one of the chats in here? Let's see. Yeah, I wonder if Trump and Biden had their own aircraft dispatchers. There is a severe weather potential, yes. Actually, you can see it right here. Look at the day 2 tornado outlook. Just south of San Jose, down the coastline. And this could be, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a tornado outside of this 2% also. There's the day 2 wind outlook, so we could get some convectively enhanced gusts as well. And here's the day 2 thunderstorm, and here's day 3 thunderstorm that includes Southern California. So let's see, Bakersfield, 50 plus. You can see that kicks up tomorrow, late morning, afternoon hours. Huge winds across some of the transverse ranges. Going across the Grapevine is not recommended tomorrow. I mean, the winds are going to be ripping up there. And look at this. What is this? That Big Sur with 71, San Luis Obispo in the 60s, some 70s up and down the coast. Wild. Light rain in Bakersfield right now. Interesting. Let's do this. It does show some wind gusts. The wind shouldn't be kicking up too much just yet. Pressure fall starting to occur. I haven't messed around with this Ecology page map too much here. Fun stuff, though. I like how it does the Doppler overlay, though. You can even zoom in a little bit more. Let's do this. Here's the Bay Area. Looks like some moderate rain kicking up across San Jose right about now. Some of the hills. Light rain since 6 p.m. Sounds like no chance to play at Pebble Beach tomorrow. Palm Springs, you guys are going to get some rainfall out there. I mean, the biggest threat is definitely Southern California and up the coastline, however. Can you zoom in and look at the winds in Monterey? Yeah, let's do that. So we'll go. So on the Hurt, that was a 0-1. Let's do. Yeah, it's going to be really wild, especially across the higher terrain. There's going to be all kinds of images coming out about down trees and stuff, power lines down. And you see that half, what is that? Is that Half Moon Bay there? The 70 miles per hour? San Francisco might be gusting up towards 60 or so. I actually did some of this. So look at Sacramento. This is actually kind of a neat thing here with the weathermodels.com. You can actually see Sacramento, and you can see the wind speeds in the direction down here. It shows 61 being the peak gust. Let me see if that's updated. Dropped it down to 59 there, and that's late Sunday morning. Here's San Francisco. Let's update it. 61 on the latest North American model at San Francisco. That will do some tree damage. That will do it, folks. That would be some pretty significant power outages across the Bay Area. The rain's probably going to start later on in the afternoon for Los Angeles, it looks like. Actually, maybe not even till, well, no, there it goes. Yeah, probably afternoon, early evening. And the thing we've been showing here a couple times now, look at that atmospheric river. It just kind of stalls over some portion of Southern California. That's not what you want to see. That's when things can get really damaging. Monday afternoon across the Grapevine, probably still roaring a little bit there, especially across the higher terrain. You'd have to back this up a little bit more and go to If we back this up, this is 80-meter wind speed. So you can see this is where we are right about now, about 8 p.m. There's not much wind out there right now, and that's because that low pressure center is still under development and still off the coastline here. And then we pick up the winds probably getting close to 10 p.m. across some of the central coast, and they really get roaring tomorrow morning. And let's see, if we go into Sunday, Monday, I mean, the winds are going to calm down a lot across Southern California as you're going through the day Monday. Still a little bit breezy up high, though. Yes, you have a chance for thunderstorms tomorrow along the coastline. Yes, indeed. Light rain has arrived to western SoCal. Yeah, monster storm moving up the coast. That thing is pretty beastly. Brand new GFS run coming in here. Let's see how far we can go with this. Interested to see what it shows the low being. It looks like it bottoms out about 983, and that's tomorrow afternoon. Now, what I want to see here is if this hangs up over Southern California. So let's scroll on into Sunday night. Slows down. Yeah, and it just kind of hangs right over Los Angeles for a bit there. That's not what you want to see because those are 3-hour chunks. So if we go... That's 0Z here. That's Sunday afternoon. Let's go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45. It's still raining. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you don't want to hang that thing up over your area for 36 hours. There's going to be some serious damaging flooding if that's the case. So glad we got to go through the 0Z GFS together, everybody. We have waterspout potential tomorrow and tornado potential, and that could go down towards Southern California as we go on into the next couple of days. In fact, I'll show you that here. Let's do this. Let's back it up here. We'll go to severe weather and we'll go to Cape. We'll start with Cape and we'll bounce out to California. This is your thunderstorm potential. So let's go ahead and go through this. There goes our storm system here. You can see the instability arriving tomorrow afternoon. That could be the first round of thunderstorms, mainly coastal areas here. But they do have that threat for some of the wind gusts here and waterspout or tornado potential. Now we scroll on in towards Sunday night, Monday morning now, and look at all that instability off the coastline. And look at how the interior valley destabilizes as we go through Monday. There's going to be thunderstorm activity going on, and some of it could be, we could be getting hail, prolific lightning, huge rainfall amounts, locally speaking. Scroll on in through Monday night. Here we go on into Monday night. There's about midnight there, and look at this axis of instability there. That's going to be hanging around as well, and we're probably going to destabilize for some portions again on Tuesday. And in fact, let's check that out. Let's change this. The European, we'll go to severe weather. We'll go to surface base Cape. The European does not properly display Cape. So let's just get that out of the way first. But even this out here shows that there's going to be some instability on Sunday, but it's much less dramatic than the North American model. And as we go through the day Monday, it does show some of that instability across the valley areas there. That's all the Cape that it takes on the European model. As we go on in through Tuesday, let's see. Yeah, there's still some Cape across some of Southern California. So there's going to be thunderstorms Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, probably across California. Good bet. Let's back this up too. You can see all the lightning there. And if we go through Monday, you can see some of the lightning across the valley areas. And then tomorrow, there'll probably be some on the coast. There it is. Yes, indeed. So yeah, we have thunderstorm potential for sure. Thank you guys for the kind words. Oh, precipitable water. Yeah, that's a good one there too. Let's go to The North American. Actually, I wanted to show this real quick here first. Let's go to Supercell Composite. So this is going through tomorrow. And you kind of see why they have that severe weather threat up tomorrow for maybe a waterspout brief tornado. Some of that activity there. But I would not be surprised to see a couple tornado reports out of this weather system. Not at all. Precipitable water. Let's back that up. You can see the warm frontal feature here. And then we bring that low pressure center up. Big plume burrowing into Southern California. Just exhausting itself into the poor transverse ranges here. My goodness. Hangs up over Los Angeles, and like the GFS, it just stalls it right over Los Angeles. That is not good. That is not good, folks. And the problem with this is even though it looks like the atmospheric river slides to the southeast, there's still a lot of instability back here, and the rain might be not quite as persistent, but it could be still heavy as time, and it could be some convective elements associated thunderstorm activity as we go on in through Tuesday, continuing to train back over Southern California. So it could still be causing flooding concerns. As you can see, the lows right there and the precipitable water plume just kind of pouring into California. We can do that also on the European model, the King Euro. Actually, let's bounce out a little bit more so we can give it a little bit more of a dramatic effect here. We'll go to Northeast and we will go to Hawaiian Islands, the bottom left. Look at that Pineapple Express. You can smell the big island caught up here. You can smell the ahi tuna rolling into California here. And look at that monster. This thing's got a tap all the way back to the deep tropics, just kind of burrowing into California there. And again, it gets really slow moving over some portions of Los Angeles and San Diego. That's really cause for concern there. And again, even though it looks like it's sliding down towards Baja at this point, there's some convection going on the backside of that. Some very heavy rainfall is likely to continue on into portions of Tuesday. Still got that kind of cyclonic flow. We got the trough elongated here and probably pouring precipitation back into the area here. Then we finally cut it off as we go through Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, shown there. And heck, let's do this. Let's also take a look off into the extended here really quick as well. Look at the system coming out of the northwest. That could be a snowmaker also. It'd be a little bit of a chillier system here. I was watching this one for some snow potential in the Pacific Northwest, but that might bring some nice mountain snow into California as well. And that would be more of a mundane event and a nice snowmaker. Yeah, there's flooding potential in the deserts as well. And let me take a look at something here. We're going to go to upper air wind. We're going to go to, actually, we've got to go to the deterministic for that. So let's go to 850 millibars, and we're going to zoom back in on California. So what happens a lot of times is the Sierra Nevada is a huge mountain range here, and you really get rain shadowed. And Nevada is actually the driest state in the lower 48, relative humidity speaking. It's just a rain shadowed state. There's just these storms can't get through it. But when you line things up right and you bring the south wind or even a southeast wind back up into Nevada here through Southern California, you can really bring some interesting amounts up there. It's pretty rare when it happens, but it can happen. So let's take a look at this storm. There goes our monster rolling up across the Bay Area. And you can see kind of the southeasterly component there. So that could be bringing some interesting moisture amounts into the desert areas here, western Arizona, southern Nevada. Death Valley is under a flood watch right now. And yeah, so that could be the gateway for some interesting totals. And let's back that up again. We'll go to precipitation. We'll go to precipitation total, and we'll put this into motion. And let's see. So we're into Sunday morning now. Atmospheric river is just hounding the Southern California area there. But you can see some big amounts. So what Vegas is here. Here's Death Valley. I mean, look at that. There's some impressive amounts there. And then you go on in through Tuesday, and some of this is continuing across some of southern Nevada. Hopefully a bunch of that is pouring off into Lake Mead as well. If you guys don't know, that's Lake Mead right there, and you guys have probably seen all the images on the internet. But look at some of the amounts as you go through Tuesday. Maybe I'll go out there and watch some of the runoff into Lake Mead there. That could be quite interesting here. And that's pretty big precipitation amounts for some of the desert areas out here, as you can see. I mean, you're talking 2-3 inches across some portions of Nevada that usually don't get that much also. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, flash floods, mudslides, rock slides, those are a given. It's just what is the extent going to be. Sometimes they're just the ones that kind of run out to the roadway a little bit. And then other times you get the really big, you get those alluvial plumes that become active, and they can really be a problem because there's homes built on those things. So if you get shifting of those and some of this huge landslide activity, or just the mountainous areas up here, I mean, you get a 1 in 20 year storm like what this has the potential to be, and you can really bring some huge amounts of mass down the mountain sides there, and you can really cause some problems. The bots are here. So, okay, so let's see. I'm going to make a couple of you guys moderators and just trust you guys. So I'm going to make Jerry Coate a moderator. Yeah, Kurt used to work for National Weather Service down here in California, so when he says something, you can pay attention and you know it's going to be accurate. Waterspout Central across the bight. Topography helps with helicity at lower levels as well. Yeah, Oregon Cascades are going to get some snowfall out of this event as well. It's going to spread up north a bit here. Northern California a bit more. I mean, you can see this. Look as we scroll out to 85 hours and 90 hours. Look at the difference between California. Kind of the cutoff is right there near the border here. So, I mean, some of it's going to get into Oregon, but not near as much as what's going on across California. And look at these. This storm is just absolutely a monster for California. Just incredible. Yeah, Death Valley might have a super bloom by the time the flowers start getting going out there. Yeah, that's the thing about it. The desert roads probably won't be open Tuesday. You go rolling out there and you see the road closed signs so you don't get washed away into a gully somewhere and they never find you. Yes, Santa Barbara is still under a high risk for precipitation, excessive rainfall. The strongest portion of the atmospheric river is going to train over Santa Barbara and Ventura and Oxnard. It will be weakening slightly as it moves over Los Angeles, but it has the potential to be slowing down at that point, and that's the problem. I mean, if you drop moderate rain for 24 hours over a location, you're still going to flood. And I would not be surprised to see a day 3 high risk issued for some of the areas, the higher terrain across the Los Angeles metro. San Bernardino National Forest, Angeles National Forest, transverse ranges here, San Bernardino Mountains. And there are some huge amounts showing up across some of the Santa Ana Mountains as well, kind of locally on some of the high resolution I think I remember seeing. But they already have a moderate risk out, which is no joke anyway. Yeah, we have Dick's Drive-Thru. I like Dick's Drive-Thru. The fries are great there. I like In-N-Out though too. I mean, I kind of like cheeseburgers as a general rule. Mandatory evacuations posted for Santa Barbara. I heard there's some actual evacuation. Mendocino and Ventura County have some of that going on as well. And even day 4. See that these guys know what they're doing here because they have the slight risk still out for Tuesday to Wednesday morning for the Los Angeles metro. They know that convection's still going to be training and that weak atmospheric river still might be hung up around there. And day 5, that'll be pushed off into Arizona. But look at day 4, even some of western Arizona under slight risk also. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this extended a little bit more up the Great Basin, including Tonopah and stuff too, because, well, actually, it might be falling as snow across some of the higher terrain initially out there also, so it might not all be rainfall. But another photography opportunity might be Death Valley when the snow falls in the higher peaks and then you clear out as you go through the upcoming week there. So that might be interesting. You might see snow levels down to 5,500, 6,000 feet on some of the Death Valley mountains. Double, yes. Those burgers are so good. But yeah, we have that high risk still out there right now, guys. And they do a pretty good job of explaining what they mean when they put out the marginal, slight, moderate, and high widespread flash floods are expected. Severe widespread flash flooding. Areas that don't normally experience flash flooding could. Lives and property in great danger. And what is it, like 40% of all deaths occur during a high risk or excessive rainfall? And like 83%, I believe it is, of damage occurs during the high risk. So that's when the really bad stuff starts to happen. Yeah, we should do like an online live taste test between like Dick's Burgers and In-N-Out and Sonic or something like that. Sacramento, no. I mean, you might get some urban and some roadways underwater for a time. The really big stuff is going to be Southern California, most likely. Some of the coastal areas could get pretty bad as well. But I mean, it's going to rain all night tonight, all the way into tomorrow morning. Then you're just going to have these raging showers moving over the coastal areas here. Big turning in the atmosphere. Enough instability. You know, if I was a betting man, I would probably bet that there will be a waterspout or two report or a weak tornado. Sonic is trash. Carl's Jr. is not bad either. Universal In-N-Out location. If I go down there, I might hit In-N-Out. We'll see. Five Guys is good also. Yeah. San Lorenzo River, and that's the next gauge upstream from Santa Cruz, is forecast to match the March 2, 1983 flood by tomorrow early afternoon. Yikes. Santa Clara checking in with moderate rain. Stay safe, everybody. Cahuenga, is that how you pronounce that? Boulevard. Carl's Jr. Tornado versus water spout. So basically, you can form those water spouts when they're over the water. They're called water spouts. As soon as it hits the land, it's called a tornado. A lot of times, it's the same process. Sometimes there's sea breeze action going on, and they're more similar to land spout tornadoes. So there still are some differences. But once a water spout goes over the land, it's considered a tornado at that point. Yeah, I remember I read a study on that March 1983 tornado downtown Los Angeles. I don't remember the exact date, if that's the date that's correct, but yeah, I've read about that one. 1,500 people in the chat still. Very nice. I mean, we're not looking at micro. Well, I mean, there is the risk for some high winds mixing down, but I wouldn't call them micro bursts. It's just more kind of the high winds aloft, and you're dealing with some instability in the atmosphere, but we're not looking at micro burst potential per se. Santa Cruz Mountains, the rainfall is, yeah, I mean, check it out. You can let's do this. Got one of the better Doppler radar tools here on the planet, and we're not using it. Let's take a look. Man, we've already got flood advisories out there already. Goodness. Yeah, and you look out there, and it's just like miles and miles of rain to come in here. So what is this? This flood advisory is actually a flood warning ongoing here. Yeah, the San Lorenzo River. Somebody was just mentioning that. Excessive rainfall. Moderate flooding is forecast. Flood stage by mid-morning on Sunday, cresting to 19.7 feet around noon on Sunday. Moderate flooding event. St. Augustine Avenue neighborhood in Paradise Park begins to flood. Flooding imminent or already occurring in the Felton Grove neighborhood. Ground stories, first floors, and garages flooded. Felton Covered Bridge Park begins to flood. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. Wait, there's a flood warning here on San Jose as well, isn't there? Guadalupe River. So let's see the key wording here. At 11.5 feet, river continues to overtop upstream Alma Avenue Bridge in the Elks Lodge, spilling north along Lelong Street. So yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of this going on here over the next day or two. And you can see the flood watch encompasses much of the state, of course. I mean, we can go off into, let's just pick a random area here. We got flood watch. Dangerous and life-threatening flooding is possible with this event, including urban areas. There is the threat of extensive roadway flooding as well as significant debris flow in recent burn scars. Creeks and streams may rise out of their banks. Main stem rivers will have the potential for significant flow and flooding concerns, bringing a very high risk of swift water rescues. Extensive rock and mudslide activity on mountain and canyon roadways, which could cause significant travel delays and road closures. And then they talk about the very strong atmospheric river, yada, yada. We've been talking about that, seems like, for a week. Yeah, it's pretty crazy looking at some of those rainfall rates getting up towards an inch an hour. Sometimes people lose sight of just how much an inch of rain is. That's a really extreme amount of water. And then once you get the convective activity moving in with the atmospheric river just moving off, I mean, man, this could really be a very memorable storm. Hopefully it's not. I mean, goodness. Maybe some light rain approaching maybe Santa Monica, Torrance, Malibu out there. Yeah, I was just going over a couple flood advisories right now, but there is going to be, look, you can see one down here for Monterey too as well. Let's do that one, flood warning. What one does this do? The Carmel River forecast. It talks about what areas may flood. You can see south side of Highway 1 bridge becomes inundated and impassable once you hit 10 feet. Many low-lying homes threatened along the entire Carmel River. Low-lying homes near Camp Stefani experience substantial flooding, and homes near Schult Road in danger of flooding. Homes surrounding the Carmel Lagoon are in danger of flooding. So yeah, that means that they're expecting that this is probably going to be occurring. Pretty wild watching this much rain rolling. Something else cool you can do on this site here is, or this app, you can do kind of a Doppler radar overlay. It's not, the resolution isn't really that good on it, but it can kind of give you just a rudimentary look at where it's raining. But if you're going to do that, you might as well just use something like this where it kind of gives you the better Doppler radar overlay. Again, this is College U page. This is free and this is accessible by anybody. So you can just kind of watch the storms roll in here. I named this storm Scrambles. Yeah, nobody's named the storm yet. What's going on? The Weather Channel needs to get a name out for it. Or maybe they do and I just don't know about it. So many chats, messages coming in. Trying to catch up a little bit here. That's something interesting. Amma Sanjali mentions that so many homeless camps along the San Lorenzo River. Hope everyone stays safe. That's something we noticed when we drove down from San Francisco to Los Angeles during the atmospheric river. I think it was in last January. I was surprised at seeing that. The rivers were just starting to flood and there were people that were living out there in tents in the middle of some of these riverbeds. I can't even imagine. I mean, you just get swept away, and would anybody even know what happened to you? San Lorenzo River is pretty impressive to watch when it cracks off. Yeah, it's not fun being a homeless person. I mean, I've never been homeless, but I've had friends that I grew up with that were homeless at times, and it's not a good thing. You tend to get the worst from people when you're homeless, and then you got to deal with weather like this or storms and whatnot. It's just even worse. The LAPD sends choppers to clear out people, or try to, from the LA River areas. So yeah, I mean, some of the cement riverbeds, I forget what are they, the aqueducts? What do they call them there? I forget, across Southern California, the big cement riverways that are dry for 99% of the year, or just have a little water running down them. Yeah, I didn't bring my water bottle yesterday. I think I was paying for that during the live chat. I was getting kind of dried out. Call them washes. Okay, flood channels, washes, arroyos. I think that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger was driving through, right, in Terminator 2, and he was driving down one of the flood channels, flood control channels. Arroyos, watches, flood channels. Okay, so I've been on an hour and a half, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because I got to do my video tomorrow morning as well. I got a few things I got to wrap up here at home also. So, yeah, what else? I'll do that video tomorrow. I got to work the next 2 days, but how will I do it? I'll probably just do the daily briefings the next 2 days. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, you can do Seattle Weather Guy. I'm on Twitter. You'd find me there, and I'll probably be posting about this tomorrow also. A lot of film shot in those channels. Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to hurt Lake Tulare, that's for sure. Maybe I'll go out and get some footage of that. That sounds interesting. I work for Alaska Airlines, and Blake Strafford, thank you for the generosity. If I can stop the chat and click that. Love you, man. What would you say the odds are tomorrow for Monterey, California, for potential tornadoes? And that's the trick. Any given location, the odds are exceptionally low. But if you are out and about and you have mobility and you can kind of see some of these showers moving, you can increase your odds a little bit. But any given area for a water spout or a brief weak tornado is exceptionally low. I mean, you think about it, how long it is. You're going back and forth from Los Angeles to San Francisco, for example, and trying to pinpoint that's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So while the threat is not zero, and I will not be surprised to see a couple reports over the next few days, it's very unlikely that any given area is going to get a water spout. So hope that makes sense. Yeah, but somebody asked a question. Yeah, I work for Alaska Airlines. I'm a flight controller. So I do the weather with my day job as well. We forecast for airports and we plan flights, and we are the guys who talk your pilots through severe weather, for example. So yeah, I get to text the pilots and talk to them and tell them what's up ahead and tell them how to get around that thunderstorm. Dole Whip, thank you. Thanks again, Michael. Thank you very much. Thanks for the generosity. Blake Stratford again, and oh yeah, that's a cool YouTube name. Blake Stratford, exactly. Done that drive many times. Thank you. Go film Lake Tulare. I was mispronouncing that for a while. Okay, I'm going to go do my stuff, and I'm going to wrap this up, and I will do another briefing tomorrow morning. We'll go through all this again. We'll break it all down, and we'll see if they upgrade that day 3 to a high risk for some portions of California. It'll be interesting to see if the model runs show that atmospheric river continuing to hang up, because if that is the case, then we got to start sounding some serious alarms. Yeah, 1 inch over an acre is 27,000 gallons. 1 inch of water, 27,000 gallons. And a lot of people have 1 acre properties in some of the outlying areas. So that's a huge amount of water. And especially if you then run that water off into a small channel, just with 1 inch over 1 acre, then you imagine 1,000 acres or 100,000 acres or 1,000,000 acres. And you start funneling that water, and then you can imagine the torrent that comes downstream. So anyway, I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Hope you guys are having a good rest of your night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.